You know when Katy Perry sang, "Baby, you're a firework"? Yeah, she was either talking about your personality or the brand new car that's sitting in your driveway. See, much like the bathroom after a visit to Chipotle, your engine is also a firework, except it doesn't shoot sparkles into the sky or blow up a public restroom. It shoots pistons down cylinders 3,000 times a minute. Yeah, while you're sitting in traffic scrolling through your phone like a zombie, there's a tiny metal apocalypse happening 2 feet in front of you. Explosions, heat, violence. And if you don't understand it, that's fine. Most people don't, but I'm going to explain it anyway because I can't sleep at night knowing David from the comment section thinks engines run on vibes and positive energy. Shut up, David. We're getting started. Here's the thing nobody tells you. Engines don't create power. It sounds like blasphemy, but it's true. They just move it around like a really angry middleman. See, you pour in gasoline, which is just dinosaur juice that wants to explode, and the engine says, okay, let's turn this violence into forward motion. That's it. That's the whole job. Think about it. Explosions are chaotic. They go in every direction. They're loud. They're hot. They don't care about your commute or your feelings or the fact that you're already late to your cousin's wedding. But somehow, engineers figured out how to trap that chaos inside a metal box, point it in one direction, and make it rotate a shaft. That's insane. It's like using a grenade to open a can of soup, except it works. The problem they had to solve was this, though. How do you take something that wants to destroy itself and make it run smoothly for 200,000 miles? And the answer is rhythm, timing, coordination. The engine doesn't just explode randomly like my temper during tax season. It follows a routine, a pattern. Suck, squeeze, bang, blow. 4 steps, over and over, forever. And before you type that comment, I know how the words sound. Let's try to keep it civilized. Okay. It might just be 4 steps, but your engine does this thousands of times per minute. At highway speeds, we're talking about 4,000, 5,000, or sometimes 6,000 revolutions per minute. That's 100 times per second. Your engine is having 100 tiny controlled explosions every single second. And somehow it doesn't shake itself into dust.
That's dark magic.
Engines are basically energy translators. They take the chemical energy locked into gasoline and turn it into kinetic energy, motion, rotation, the twist of a crankshaft that eventually becomes the spin of your wheels. Until you forget to change the oil and it seizes, like my credit score after that fateful night in September. We don't talk about September. To truly understand, let's look at those 4 steps I mentioned. The 4-stroke cycle is the heartbeat of your engine. If you mess up even one, the whole thing falls apart, and it all starts with the intake. See, here the piston moves down. The intake valve opens. Air and fuel get sucked into the cylinder, like me inhaling a burrito at 2 a.m. Nothing explosive yet, just loading the gun. The piston creates a vacuum as it drops, and because of that, atmospheric pressure shoves the air-fuel mixture into the cylinder. After this, we get compression. At this point, both valves close. The piston moves up. It squeezes the air-fuel mixture into a tiny space at the top of the cylinder. Because of this, pressure builds and temperature rises. Think about that right now. You're taking something flammable and cramming it into a corner like a stressed college student before finals. The tighter you squeeze, the hotter it gets. We're talking compression ratios of 10 to 1. That means the mixture gets squeezed to 1/10 of its original volume. Like taking a basketball and crushing it down to the size of a grapefruit, except the basketball is basically a grenade. During compression, the temperature climbs from room temperature to about 500 degrees, just from squeezing. No fire yet. The molecules are getting packed closer together, bouncing off each other faster and generating heat through friction. It's a mosh pit at a molecular level. Then that gives us power. This is the good part. The spark plug fires and a tiny lightning bolt jumps across the gap smaller than a millimeter. It ignites the compressed air-fuel mixture and boom! The explosion shoves the piston down with violent force. This is the only stroke that actually does work. The other 3 are just setup. is like a one-hit wonder band. All their success comes from one song, and the rest is filler. I'm looking at you, Chumbawamba. The crazy thing here is the pressure inside the cylinder during this stroke can reach 1,000 pounds per square inch. That's enough to crush a soda can into a hockey puck, and it's happening on top of a piston the size of your fist, slamming it downward with enough force to crack concrete. But the piston doesn't crack, it just transfers that force through the connecting rod to the crankshaft. Once that happens, we go to exhaust. Here, the exhaust valve opens, the piston moves up again, shoving all the burnt gases out of the cylinder like I shove regret out of my brain every Monday morning. Those gases are spent, used up. Now they're just hot air and carbon dioxide heading for your tailpipe and eventually the atmosphere, where they'll make polar bears very sad. But that's not the engine's problem. The engine doesn't care about your polar bears. It simply starts over. Intake, compression, power, exhaust, repeat forever. But here's the kicker. This happens in every cylinder. Most cars have 4 cylinders. Some have 6. Some trucks have 8. That means while one cylinder's sucking, another is squeezing, another is exploding, and another is farting out exhaust. They're coordinated, synchronized, like a boy band. Except if one of them's offbeat, the whole engine shakes itself to death, instead of just disappointing teenage girls. The crankshaft is designed so that power strokes from different cylinders are staggered. This keeps the crankshaft spinning smoothly instead of jerking around. The result is continuous power delivery, smooth acceleration, the feeling of pushing the gas pedal and actually going somewhere. But let's look a little deeper, shall we? Let's talk about the hardware, because explosions are great, but without the right equipment, you're just making noise and heat. Pistons are the guys who take the hit. They sit inside cylinders and get slammed up and down by explosions thousands of times per minute. They're made of aluminum because it's light and doesn't melt immediately. They have rings around them, little metal bands that seal the gap between the piston and the cylinder wall. If those rings wear out, oil sneaks into the combustion chamber, and your car starts smoking like a barbecue at a divorced dad's house. The piston crown is shaped to control how the flame spreads during combustion. Some are flat, some are dished, some have weird bumps and valleys. But the job is always the same. Take the explosion and survive long enough to push it downward. Normally, a piston weighs maybe half a pound, but it's moving up and down 50 times per second. The forces involved are staggering. It's like doing burpees for eternity, except the burpees are trying to kill you. Then we have the connecting rods, which are basically the translators. Pistons move up and down, but wheels rotate. So, how do you convert vertical motion into rotation? Connecting rods. They attach the piston to the crankshaft and say, "Hey, crankshaft, this explosion wants to go down. Can you turn that into spinning? Thanks." They're made of forged steel because they have to handle incredible tension and compression forces. Imagine doing 1,000 pull-ups per minute, except the pull-ups are trying to rip your arms off. That's a connecting rod's life. And if a connecting rod breaks, it punches through the side of the engine block like the Kool-Aid Man. Except instead of bringing refreshment, it brings financial ruin. Ooh, yeah. Now, let's talk about the almighty crankshaft. This is the hero, the MVP, the Beyoncé of your engine. The crankshaft takes all that chaotic up and down violence and smooths it out into one continuous rotation. It's shaped like a zigzag because physics is weird and engineers are masochists. But each piston pushes on a different part of the crank at a different time. And the whole thing spins like a jump rope on fire. Except if it breaks, your engine actually explodes. So no pressure. The tolerances here are insane. We're talking about clearances thinner than a human hair. The crankshaft spins on bearings lubricated by a thin film of oil that's literally micrometers thick. If the oil film breaks down, metal touches metal. Friction creates heat. Heat creates more friction. The bearing seize. The crankshaft stops spinning. The engine locks up. And, you're walking home. Modern crankshafts are balanced to within a fraction of a gram. If one side's heavier than the other, the whole engine vibrates. It shakes, it rattles, it sounds like a paint mixer full of rocks. Balancing a crankshaft involves spinning it at a high speed and adding or removing tiny amounts of material until it's perfectly symmetrical. It's like tuning a guitar, except the guitar costs $3,000, and if you mess up, it explodes. Then we have valves. These control what goes in and out of the cylinder. Intake valves let air and fuel in. Exhaust valves let burnt gases out. They open and close thousands of times per minute at exactly the right moment. Think of them as bouncers at a very exclusive, very violent nightclub. If they let the wrong thing in at the wrong time, someone gets hurt. Valves are made of special steel alloys that can handle extreme heat. The exhaust valves especially, because they're exposed to gases that are over 1,200 degrees Fahrenheit. Hotter than lava, hotter than my mixtape. And they still have to open and close smoothly without warping or melting. But here's the scary part. If a valve opens at the wrong time and the piston is still coming up, they will collide. When valves meet piston, piston wins. Valve loses its job and possibly its structural integrity. This is called valve-to-piston contact, and it is catastrophic. We're talking bent valves, cracked pistons, and destroyed cylinder heads. The engine is toast. Done. Finished. You might as well donate it to a technical school so students can practice cutting it in half. Finally, we have the camshaft. This is what controls valve timing. It's a shaft covered in little bumps called lobes. As the camshaft spins, those lobes push on the valves to open them at precisely the right time. The camshaft is synchronized with the crankshaft using either a timing belt or a timing chain. The belt is rubber and quiet, but needs to be replaced every 60 to 100,000 miles, or it snaps and destroys your engine. The chain is metal and lasts longer, but sounds like a bag of hammers when it starts to wear out. Cam timing is critical. If the camshaft is even a few degrees off, the valve opens too early or too late. The engine loses power. It runs rough. It might not even start at all. And what if the timing belt or chain breaks completely? The camshaft stops spinning. The valves freeze. The crankshaft keeps spinning because it has momentum. The pistons keep moving, and then physics happens. Pistons smash into valves, metal bends, dreams die. Let's recap what we know so far. We're all driving bombs, but how does the explosion even happen? Most people think engines explode. And I've been saying that all along, but it's kind of wrong. They burn, and there's a difference. An explosion is chaos, but combustion is controlled. It's a flame front moving at 100 feet per second, so it's predictable, useful, and most importantly, not a felony. But for gasoline to burn, it needs oxygen, and the perfect ratio is about 14.7 parts air to 1 part fuel. This is called stoichiometric, which sounds like a spell from Harry Potter, but it's just chemistry. Too much fuel, rich. Black smoke that smells like a lawnmower's corpse. Too much air, it's lean. The engine runs hot and sounds like a cat in a bathtub. To get our explosion, the spark plug makes a tiny lightning bolt around 20 to 40,000 volts, which, by the way, is enough to kill you, so don't touch it. The plug doesn't cause the explosion. It just starts the fire. Compression does the rest. The spark just gives it a nudge. After combustion, the flame spreads outward in a spherical wave and consumes everything for maybe 20 milliseconds. Basically, blink and you've missed 50 of them. But what if fuel ignites before the spark? That's what we call knocking, aka pre-ignition. When this happens, multiple flame fronts slam into each other like drunk people in a mosh pit. Shockwaves hammer the piston, and it all sounds like marbles in a tin can. Do this enough, and you punch a hole through the piston and end up with a very expensive paperweight. Thankfully, modern engines have knock sensors, which are little microphones that listen for death rattles. If they hear it, the computer retards the timing. But for older engines, you just prayed to the car gods. With all that said, we have to look at the difference between gasoline and diesel. Petrol engines use spark ignition, mix air and fuel, compress it a little, light it on fire. We know all that. They rev high. Sounds nice. They're the guy at the gym doing bicep curls while making eye contact with himself in the mirror. Confident. Maybe too confident? For petrol, compression ratios are around 10 to 1. So they trade compression for speed. And when I say speed, I mean speed. These babies spin at 6,000, 7,000, or even 9,000 RPM. Diesel engines, on the other hand, they have no spark plugs. They basically compress air so hard it reaches 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. With a compression ratio of 20 to 1, it's double what petrol does. They're built like tanks and sound like a cement mixer having an existential crisis. But they make torque. The kind that pulls trailers and doesn't care about your feelings. They don't rev high because they don't need to. They make power down low at around 2,000 to 3,000 RPM. That's why trucks use them. Slow to start, impossible to stop, like pushing a boulder. Diesel fuel is oilier, heavier, and doesn't evaporate easily. Gets injected directly into superheated air and wham! Instant combustion. No spark, just heat, pressure, and chemistry doing their thing. Petrol engines are high-strung thoroughbreds. They need premium fuel, love to rev, get anxious at low RPM, and shake like a chihuahua in a thunderstorm. Diesels are plow horses. Run on anything flammable, don't care about your rush, will outlive you, your kids, and possibly the heat death of the universe. Both are brilliant. Both are different, like cats and dogs, or functional adults and me. One thing you have to have learned today is that your car is a product of witchcraft. I mean, these engines run hot enough to melt aluminum, spin fast enough to tear apart a washing machine, experience pressures that would crush a soda can into a metal frisbee, and the only reason they survive? Oil and coolant. Remove either one, and your engine dies in minutes. See, oil lubricates. Cool keeps metal from grinding into dust. The oil pump pushes it through tiny passages drilled into the engine block. Like arteries, films 5 to 10 micrometers thick, thinner than a human hair. But the thing is, dirty oil makes the passages clog and parts seize. Low oil makes the pump suck air. Because of that, pressure drops, metal touches metal, bearings wear out in seconds, and your engine locks up. Like my jaw when someone asks about my student loans. See, old oil breaks down, loses viscosity, gets thin, runny, and can't protect anything. Running an engine on old oil is like running a marathon in flip-flops. Technically possible, but inadvisable and painful. Coolant, on the other hand, manages heat. See, combustion creates 4,500 degrees inside the cylinder, hot enough to melt steel, vaporize aluminum. To stop that, coolant flows through water jackets, absorbs heat, and goes to the radiator, gets cooled, and repeats the cycle. It's a closed loop, a tiny AC system preventing engine suicide. But it's delicate. If your radiator's clogged, your water pump fails, or your spring leaks, your engine overheats. The temperature gauge hits red, steam pours out, and if you keep driving, your cylinder head warps, the head gasket blows, coolant mixes with oil, and everything turns into a milkshake. Not the fun kind. Crazy overheating kills engines faster than age, rust, or neglect. One serious overheat can warp the head enough to ruin everything. Your engine is fighting heat, friction, pressure, and time. It's losing slowly, sure, but all you can do is slow it down. Maintenance. Change oil every 5,000 miles. Check coolant. Replace filters. Replace spark plugs. Don't ignore warning lights, because if you neglect it, it will seize, overheat, throw a rod through the block, and spray oil all over the highway like a mechanical crime scene, and you'll be standing on the side of the road, thumb out, wondering why you didn't spend $30 on an oil change 6 months ago. So there you have it. Your engine is a miracle of engineering wrapped in a metal box, running on controlled violence, held together by oil and hope and the collective wisdom of 100 years of people figuring out how to make explosions useful. It's beautiful, it's terrifying, and it's happening right now under your hood while you sit there eating fries. So treat it well, check the oil, check the coolant, don't redline when it's cold. And maybe, just maybe, it'll get you to 200,000 miles without exploding. Or don't. I'm not your dad. But when it dies, and you're standing on the side of the road in the rain with no cell service and a raccoon stealing your lunch, don't say I didn't warn you. But what do you think? What's the most insane engineered part of the engine? Do you think it's crazy that we control explosions every day? And do you think we should drain the oil from Dave's car? Let us know in the comments below. And while you're at it, why not drop a like and subscribe for all the best deep dives into everything automobile. With that said, until next time, keep revving your engine. Bye.